I'm Jeb Butler with the Butler Law Firm, and today we'll talk about mediation. Mediation has become a lot more common in personal injury and wrongful death litigation in recent years. It used to be that it rarely happened. Now lots of judges require it. Most judges in Georgia won't even let you go to trial until you have tried and gone to mediation. So it's something we've all had to learn a lot more about. And sometimes we like it, other times we don't, but we've just about always got to deal with it if we have a serious case that we're preparing for trial. First thing to know about mediation is that it happens before a neutral mediator, someone who's not affiliated with or not loyal to either party. Usually the mediator doesn't even have anything to do with the court. It's usually someone at a private firm or at a county mediation office that has no affiliation with the judge or the judge's staff. In a mediation, typically both parties will come into a large conference room and sit down, and there'll be some remarks by the mediator. The mediator will say something like, "Here we are all together to negotiate in good faith. I sure hope we can agree on something. And you really should consider mediation and tell everybody your full story and put all your cards on the table, because if you don't, you go to trial, the jury is going to be unpredictable." And all of that is true so far as it goes, but you also have to take it with a grain of salt, because most mediators want the cases that come before them to settle, because mediators are often judged on the percentage of the cases that they mediate where a settlement is reached. So it's in their interest usually to encourage everybody to try to settle the case. Still, what they say does have some value, and it's true so far as it goes. After that, after the initial session, the parties will typically break up into two different rooms. Each party or each person or entity that's involved in the case typically has their own little room, and you sit there over a period of hours, sometimes multiple days, but typically hours, and just exchange numbers. This process, in my judgment, can get quite boring because you end up having to sit there and wait for extended periods. But you're exchanging numbers, so the plaintiff might say, "Okay, we'll settle for $1 million." And then the mediator says, "Okay," and he walks out, takes that number down the hall to the defense, and they say, "No, we won't pay that. We'll pay $150,000. And the mediator says, "Okay," and he takes that. The plaintiff says, "That's ridiculous. We can't go, we'll go down to $900,000. And the mediator goes down, and numbers go back and forth all days, it seems like, until sometimes the parties reach agreement and sometimes they don't. Of course, the number, the settlement number, isn't all that you're talking about in a mediation. Typically, you also have to address non-monetary terms. In a personal injury case, that often includes things like the amount that an insurance company or the government through Medicare or Medicaid has paid to handle medical bills. Oftentimes, not always, but oftentimes, that has to be paid back out of the settlement. So the parties will go back and forth and might disagree on what language will be included in the release, that is, the document that finalizes a settlement, about how to handle those medical bills. Typically, most of the time is spent arguing over the number, but you do have to worry and talk and negotiate about medical terms as well. One important aspect of mediation is it's not the same as an arbitration. A mediation is not binding. If you and I go to mediation and we just can't agree, well, that's okay. We leave and the litigation continues. We might have a trial date set for 2 months out or 2 years out, but if we don't agree in mediation, that's fine. We go back to litigating against each other. No one can make you agree in a mediation. In that respect, it's not like an arbitration. At an arbitration, you would sit down before an arbitrator who acts like a judge, and then we'll reach a decision and say, this party will pay this party this much money. Not so in a mediation. Agreement is reached or agreement isn't, but no one can force you into an agreement in mediation.